As people who have read a lot of material on African literature, we tend to come across a lot of reoccurring similarities and themes. Similarities that can be linked to different books from authors from completely different nations across the entire continent. It is that beautiful commonality of the Black struggle. Therefore, we introduce another new meme-C segment called Double Lenses, where we closely assess a central topic of interest as seen through the scope of two completely different authors and works. Our topic today will be called The Disease of the Holier Than Thou, as seen from the two feminist books by Zimbabwe's Tsitsi Dangarebwa's classic novel Nervous Conditions and Nigerian Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Purple Hibiscus. These two books are very similar from their young coming-of-age female leads to their first-person narrative styles. These characters, Eugene Achike and Tampu, appear to have more or less the same issues and problems and lives. These are, of course, they are the victims of their fanatically religious father figures in their lives, such as Bamkuru from Nervous Conditions and Eugene Achike from Purple Hibiscus, respectively. If you never read these classic novels, I recommend you check out our two doodle summaries for the books we did before and then come back. So, these two characters, as I said earlier, Eugene Achike and Bamkuru, are surprisingly very similar as well. They are both admired and renowned male leaders of their respective communities and families. They are educated in the European British ways, wealthy and influential. They have grown to be financially stable, and because of this are looked to by their surrounding relatives to give them direction. So they have become, as we unofficially call, the holier than thous. You know, those kind of quote, squeaky clean, self-righteous Christians who feel like they are an extension of Jesus Christ himself, and because so, simply cannot do any wrong. But is this so? They see themselves as saints that exalt Christianity as this perfect unicorn religion, unlike the rejected dirty African traditional religion they grew up in. But today, I'm going to be more objective about this. I'm not going to be pointing fingers of like, oh, you Christians and you missionaries, you store our minerals and wealth, blah, blah, blah. Today, I'm going to be more of Mr. Understanding Psychological guy. Yes, this is more from a psychological point of view, where I will assess purely of whether this religious attitude really did solve their social problems or not. So both of these men are fanatic Catholic leaders, as I said, and because of this are given lots of freedom and power to influence. Therefore, impose their beliefs by force on other members of the family with freedom. Nigerian Eugene Achike, who is the father to the intelligent young lead Eugene Achike, like most other holier than thous, Eugene is an unrepentant perfectionist. He has what we call in psychology black and white thinking. Whether it's either you succeed at something 100% or anything else you do is a 0%, even if it's a 99.9999999. Like ditto hand washing soap. Yeah, it's still not good enough. This is what drives his behavior and uses it to set the impossible standards his family must reach. And when these imposed standards are not met, the guy is just brutal to his daughter Kambili and the rest of his family when it comes to his punishments. Even the opening of the book, Chimamanda immediately draws you into the storm that is Eugene's brutal violent behavior to govern his family into Christianity. With these things fall apart reference,
all things started to fall apart when Papa threw a missile at Jaja.
Eugene seems to be always walking on lava, walking on springs like Okonko used to do when things fall apart, yeah. Looking to nitpick his family's tiniest mistakes to reform it with the most brutal of volcanic eruptions, Eugene applies excessive punishment as if he...
It's like somebody taking a 40 pounds hammer to kill a mosquito.
This guy savagely beats, although I feel like he butchers is much more of an appropriate word. Yeah, let's use butcher. He butchers his kids regularly. He pushes his wife into a miscarriage, pours hot boiling water on their feet because he believes they are caught walking into sin. Eugene goes too far when it comes to pushing his children to educational success too. especially with Kambili. So much so, his daughter Kambili is petrified to even get second position in class, and with good reason. He beats her ass for only getting second position in class. And what about us? I never got even 20th position. I mean, I would be dead by now, right? And listen to this. This is how he explains his actions. How many heads do you have, bro?
1.
This girl has 1 head too. 2. She does not have 2. So why would you let her come first? Oh, you know, trust me, I understand where you're coming from, Eugene. But when 2 people have equal physical attributes, doesn't it make it more of a stronger point that it can go either way? What a douche. Whereas Bamkuru in Never's conditions is much more subtle, diplomatic, and way less brutal with the way he pushes his Christian agenda, but he still is equally self-righteous. Although of course he still pushes it to the same degree. This makes him much more likable than Eugene. He doesn't beat his wife and his family except this one time when he attempts to quote kill his daughter Nyasha, although I'm not sure that's what he really wanted to do, or he was just saying that stuff just to scare the hell out of her. Oh, yeah, and I forgot. You also whipped Tambu for refusing to go to her parents' Christian wedding. I guess they're not that different after all, hey? Bamkuru still looks down on African tradition and marginalizes his wife like Eugene. He sort of overworks and underappreciates her contribution to the extended family household, leaving her under both severe and emotional physical strain. Emotional and physical strain he ignores, of course, although she feels like Bamkuru would not do half of the things that he does if she wasn't in his life. Which is true. And most things he and Eugene do that may seem drastic are done usually for a constructive reason, or at least what they think is a constructive reason to save the family from a life in hell. For example, when Bamkuru forces Tambu's mother and father to have a Christian wedding, it's only done because he believes their traditional marriage is that spiritual rotten thing in the home state that causes such unfortunate events such as Namo's death and Nyasha's erratic behavior. Now, the interesting thing is, their methods and hot pursuit of Christian perfection only pushes their families further away from them. This is because Eugene, like Bamkuru, is never questioned by society because of his status, which kind of puts him in a fortress, which gives them the authority not to question their own actions despite being horribly flawed human beings, which allows them to continue living their way and become the root causes of the many rotten or quote evil problems they desperately seek to solve. Ironically, Eugene never takes a step back to get to know about his daughter's inner demons and insecurities, kind of like in the same way Bamkuru ignores Nyasha's identity crisis problems. In fact, inner demons and insecurities they contribute a lot to, really. They have this idealized view of what their daughters should be like, but they never really take time to assess the situation on the ground and adjust their parenting accordingly. Eugene's sister, Auntie Ifeoma, is actually a much better parent than him by a mile. His daughter Kambili only starts to grow in confidence and self-esteem when she begins living with her, because Auntie Ifeoma isn't controlling. She allows Kambili to grow into her own personality, even if she has a little bits and pieces that really need to be mended. And to be honest, when she went to Auntie Ifeoma, she had a lot of bits and pieces to be repaired. This is the danger of the self-righteous holier than thou Christians. They believe that because they read the Bible every night, attend every service, and pray half of the day, they believe they are immune to making errors in judgment or just being generally a bad person like these leaders are. Humans are flawed, man, and always will be flawed. Of course, there are those who make more mistakes than others, but on the real, even Jesus said it himself. Those who have not sinned, let them cast the first stone. It's the same gripe I have with the cancel culture these days on social media. These guys who launch these campaigns about which celebrity did or said what on Twitter act as if they have never or never will make a mistake in their entire lives. But as seen through these two characters, people who become real experts at condemning others very likely lack self-awareness. People who dub themselves saints usually become a real problem to society because they harbor and ignore their own issues to a point of no return. They become a real problem for someone else in marriage. It is clear that Eugene has serious self-loathing issues, but he only projects those insecurities and fears to his family and never for one time tries to contemplate that, maybe I might have anger issues and the Bible probably does not like that either. I mean, like, seriously, how can you beat your wife nearly to death and still feel like everyone else is the problem? I don't know. That's just above me. Even up to now, I don't understand that. What makes these stories so engaging is that they take us on a journey of irony. Both these characters are written brilliantly by these ladies in such a way that you don't have to dig deep to observe the dichotomy of the disease trying to cure itself, because their ultra controlling behavior is the real disease that is causing the family's misfortune in the first place. And like every problem that goes unresolved, like a disease itself, there will be much more severe consequences as it progresses. Eugene, because of his abuse, is eventually poisoned by his wife Mama in Purple Hibiscus, which I kinda liked, I must admit. Yes, I really like that. You can sue me.
Now, Nyasha wasn't really an angel herself, but aren't we all struggling with imperfections as human beings? Besides, Bamkuru should have spotted the underlying patriarchy and cultural dilemma that was making his daughter act out.
But that's the thing about being a holier than thou. It blinds you to the humanity of others while it unrealistically exalts your own. Now, I'm not saying don't read the Bible, but I am saying don't read the Bible only. Like everything else in life, contrary to popular belief, the Bible isn't perfect. There are some things in there where when you look at the Bible with an objective, anti-Ifioma or Tambu eye, and not that biased Bamkuru, Eugene eye, where you're like, okay, maybe we should skip that. We could delve into that too, but we just don't have the time today. It really defeats the purpose if you have a head full of verses and confidence when you continue to repeat the same mistakes over and over again and blame them on some invisible demons in other people you have never even really seen eye to eye. It indicates not a problem of religious devotion, but a problem of self-awareness and empathy. Most of Chimamanda's work goes back to her speech of the single story. I think that's basically the message of Purple Hibiscus and Nervous Conditions here. A clear display of the grim consequences of a person who blindly follows every aspect of a single culture. Like Eugene, who became a blind fly following a corpse into a grave, which turned out to be quite a literal prophecy because his ass eventually was poisoned dead. So this was our quick analysis on our comparison of Eugene Achike from Purple Hibiscus and Bamkuru from Nervous Conditions. Hope you learned a lot today, and as always, thanks for watching Mumsy Africa.